YouTube, it's Autumn. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. Please click the like button if you end up liking the video, and please click the subscribe button if you'd like to see more from me. And remember to click that little bell so you get notified when I post a new video, because YouTube doesn't always tell you. A quick disclaimer, the sound effects you hear in the background are my parrot, Vincent. She likes to talk while I'm making videos, so when you hear those sounds, that's what it is. Today I want to answer the question, is your Speedy or your Neverfull a basic bag? I think I first heard this term basic on Men on Bags channel, and if you haven't checked them out, please do, they're awesome. And in fact, they just posted a video yesterday about basic bags and their thoughts on that, and specifically about Louis Vuitton bags being called basic. I've seen this pop up a few times recently where the Louis Vuitton bags, especially the Speedy and Neverfull, are being called basic. I've seen a few people talking about them. I've seen Men on Bags. Saya from Men on Bags, who's also known as Frozen Luxury, has talked about this on his Instagram. Wendy S. The Loving 50 has talked about this. So I have been in search of what that term basic really means, because this is the first time that I've heard it, and I don't have a clear definition. So one thing I want to say up front is there's a term connected to the word basic, and it's basic B, and I'm not going to say the B word, and that's only because I am a teacher and I have to be conscious about how I present myself on social media. And it may sound kind of silly, but I'm not going to say the word in this video. I'm just going to say basic B, so that's what it's referring to. To me, words matter, and I can see how it's used in a funny way, but I don't call people by that name. It's not about being politically correct, it's just about being respectful to other people. So I've heard this term basic and basic B from a few people, like I said, and what prompted me to really learn about it and to do a video about it is I got a comment on one of my videos. It was on the video about whether Louis Vuitton is discontinuing canvas. That's my bird in the background. And I'm going to read this comment from my screen here. In response to the question, is Louis Vuitton discontinuing canvas? This person wrote, they should. LV is becoming so basic. I hate to say it, but I feel embarrassed to carry monogram or canvas because of the oversaturation. Who wants to spend over $1,000 on a bag that anyone can obtain? Not me. That was an interesting comment, I thought, and they used the word basic, and so I've tried to figure out what exactly that means. I have a general idea of what it means. Clearly it's tended to be derogatory, but I want to know exactly what it means. I want an exact definition. In that comment, the person seemed to equate basic with common or easily attainable, and to me those are two different things. So I went in search of a definition. One thing you should know before I delve into this is that I have a background in art, as you may know if you have watched my channel, because I'm an art teacher and a photographer. But I also have a background in scientific research. I was in a PhD program for social psychology. I taught social psychology at Brooklyn College. I taught psychology of women at Hunter College. So to answer this question of what is basic and are Louis Vuitton's basic, I relied on my skill set as a researcher, and I went to the most reliable source, the internet. First, of course, I checked YouTube. And there are a few videos on this, but none of them really delved into the topic of what is basic. None of them gave me a really good definition of that. And there weren't many videos that talked about luxury bags being basic. So I decided to make my own to help other people like me who are new to the term and don't know quite how it applies to handbags. One of the first things that I learned is the term is not new. I only heard about it recently, but it's actually been around for quite a few years, and it keeps popping up in the community. So where did the term basic originate? It is highly connected to the term basic B, so I searched for that. A website called Know Your Meme has a good timeline of how this term came about and how it's developed. Know Your Meme says that the exact origin of the term basic B is unknown. The earliest known use of the term online was submitted to Urban Dictionary in July of 2009 by a user named Meeks901, who defined it as one who has no personality, dull and irrelevant, an extra regular female. The next listing they have for the term is from August of 2009, and they list a YouTube video. I'm not sharing that video here, and I'm not putting a link below because it is riddled with the N-word, but the creator basically lists a bunch of things and says, if you do this, then you are a basic B. Based on the list of examples from knowyourmeme.com, the impression that I'm left with is that this term basic B started as something that was used by black men to describe black women, and that it has evolved into a term that's used by anyone to describe white women. So next I turned to ever reliable Wikipedia. When I searched Basic B on Wikipedia, it brings up the definition for airhead. It says, airhead, also known as Trixie in Chicago, Basic B, or simply basic, is a slang term in American popular culture used to pejoratively describe middle-class white women who are perceived to predominantly like mainstream products, trends, or music. Basic B originated in hip-hop culture and rose in popularity through rap music, songs, blogs, and videos from 2011 to 2014. So this is why I haven't heard of it until now, because I only listen to classic rock and blues, which is what I grew up on, and I've never delved too much outside of that realm musically. Okay, so it also says interpretations of the term vary, and its use has been criticized for being an overly vague and misogynistic insult. From there I went to Urban Dictionary. There are pages and pages of definitions of Basic B on Urban Dictionary. I chose a couple of them to share with you that I thought highlighted the gist of what this term means. So one says somebody who's boring and unoriginal. That's really vague. That doesn't tell you much of anything. The next one says someone who is unflinchingly upholding of the status quo and stereotypes of their gender without even realizing it. So at this point, this definition is specifying that this applies to women because they use the term she. They say she engages in typical unoriginal behaviors, modes of dress, speech, and the likes. She is tragically/laughably unaware of her utter lack of specialness and intrigue. She believes herself to be unique, fly, amazing, and a complete catch, when really she's boring, painfully normal, and par. She believes her experiences to be crazy, wild, and different, or somehow more special than everything that everybody else is doing, when really almost everyone is doing or has done the exact same thing. She's typical and a dime a dozen. There are many subtypes of basicness, they list a few here, but ultimately they all share the common thread of being expendable and unnoteworthy, and in some cases having absolutely no redeeming qualities. That's pretty harsh. So I'm going to pick apart this definition a little bit. One of the things they say is that women who are basic uphold stereotypes without even realizing it, but they don't specify really what stereotypes, and there are a gazillion stereotypes of women. They say that she believes herself to be more special or unique than anyone else. Well, that's Americans. We're an individualistic culture. Exhibit A. And basically they're describing the Basic B as someone who is into the same things that everybody else is into and does the same things that everybody else does. And what that is actually called is normal. We are all more alike than we are different. That is completely normal, and there's nothing wrong with it. Does that make everyone basic? Maybe. Let's look at a few more definitions. Another definition I pulled gives a more specific example of a Basic B. A stereotypical suburban high school or college-aged white female. So now this person is narrowing the definition to define it as a particular location, age group, and race. She's most often seen wearing yoga pants, oversized university hoodies, or Ugg boots. These girls are often seen gathering at your local Starbucks or Chipotle. When seen in public, they most likely will be with other Basic Bs or texting their BFF on their iPhone. Your average Basic B usually owns and drives a high-end or luxury vehicle that mommy and daddy bought. So now they're adding in financial status to the definition. A normal Basic B is often in denial that she's a Basic B and thinks she's a bad B because she listens to hip-hop and rap and judges other people who she thinks are inferior to herself or are seen as lower-class citizens or minorities. So again, what I have to say to this in picking apart this definition is that we are all products of our environment. In America, because these definitions seem to be talking about Americans, we all use iPhones. That's part of the culture these days. We also all go to places like Starbucks and Chipotle because America is nothing if it is not a land of big box stores and chain restaurants. None of these things are specific to location, age, race, or financial status. We all do that. So to me, this definition sounds like it's just describing the average American. Next up in my research, I came across an article by Clutch magazine, which is an online magazine. It implies that the term basic B was coined by black women to describe white women, but that now white women have appropriated it to describe themselves. I will link this article below, and I think it's an interesting read, and especially the comments at the end, which talks about the evolution or devolution of slang phrases from one group to another and who gets phrases from who appropriates from who. This article also mentions a video, which is also mentioned on the Know Your Memes site, by College Humor, which is a comedic video that talks about basic B being a disease. So what I'm getting from all of this is that the basic B is just another stereotype like any other. And even if you went against that stereotype of being basic, then you'll just become some other stereotype. Case in point, a video I will link below that pits the hipster against the basic B. So let's circle back around here to luxury handbags, which is why we are all here in the first place. How did this term basic get applied to expensive luxury handbags? The connection that I have seen repeatedly is a video by a rapper named, and I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this correctly because it's spelled very creatively, but I'm going to guess it's called Creation. And she came out with a video in 2011, a song and a video called Gucci Gucci. And in that, she mentioned specifically Gucci, Louis Vuitton, Fendi, and Prada as bags that basic Bs wear. She also talks about people who wear those bags, how they work at places like Arby's, which implies to me that they're either fake bags or that people who work in these places can't afford those bags, or people who work in those places are lower class and are pretending to be higher class, something that they aren't. What bothers me about this video though is the lifestyle that she presents as an alternative to the basic B, or the common normal lifestyle, is a lifestyle that includes drugs and theft and putting other people down. And to me, that is much less okay than just being normal. So do I think Louis Vuitton bags are basic? According to the definitions I've seen, things are not basic, people are. But if we're going to say that things are basic, how do those things become basic in the first place? Is a thing basic just because it's common? And then how do you define common? And that's when my social psychology research skills come in, because I have to define every little thing. So I live in Houston, and I happen to live in a neighborhood where I'm surrounded by people who have more money than maybe the average person. I also work in a neighborhood where people definitely have more money than the average person. Because of that, I spend most of my time in these wealthier neighborhoods, and I do see a lot of Louis Vuitton and other designer bags. But if I go into other neighborhoods in Houston or other cities or towns in this country, I don't see Louis Vuitton or other high-end designer bags all the time. They're not common everywhere. So it's all about context. The videos I've seen about the basic Louis Vuitton bags talk specifically about the Speedy and the Neverfull. So let's talk about why those two are the most common bags. So let's talk about the Speedy, which is one of the bags that's listed as a basic bag. Now this is the first bag that Louis Vuitton came out with as a handbag. It came from the Keepall. So it's basically just a small version of their duffel bag. A lot of people like this bag because of that history. They appreciate that part of it. But it's also a very practical bag. It's lightweight, it's easy to carry, and it's really big inside. It holds a lot. The other bag that's talked about as basic is the Neverfull. This hasn't been around nearly as long as the Speedy, but it's a tote, and totes are basic, and that's for a reason. They're very practical bags. They hold a ton, lightweight again. It's classic and it's practical. There are reasons that everybody has these bags. For me, I chose this particular Neverfull because totes are something that are like the perfect bag for me. They're practical for my lifestyle. And I chose the Damier Ben print because when I lived in New York, when I was in college, I walked into a Louis Vuitton store and saw this print for the first time, not knowing about it, thinking that all they had was the monogram. And I saw this and thought it was just so beautiful, and I wanted to have one. And then a few years later, I was in an office supply store, and the lady checking out in front of me had one of these bags, and I saw for the first time the red interior, and I thought that was just gorgeous and striking with the brown Damier Ben print on the outside. So that made me want one even more. And eventually I saved up and spent about $1,400 on this bag. And there is nothing basic about that. Do I care that other people have these bags and they're pretty common? No, because they work for me. and I have wanted them for a long time, and I saved up and I got them for myself. I also love seeing other people with the bags because I love seeing that other people appreciate them as much as I do. And especially in the context of this YouTube community and the community of luxury handbags on Facebook and on Instagram, I know that there are a lot of people who feel the same way that I do about these handbags. If you're watching this video, you're probably part of some of those communities too. And from what I've seen, we have a real appreciation. It's not about having these bags as status symbols. It's not that other people have it, so I want it too, so I fit in. It's because we know about the history of the brand and we research and we learn about it. And that's what these videos are all about, is teaching each other what we've learned and what our experiences are and whether this is a good bag versus that bag. I just recently had somebody else comment on that video that I did about whether Louis Vuitton is discontinuing their canvas. And they said that they hope they get rid of a lot of these more common bags because people need to see that they sell other bags too at Louis Vuitton. And everybody just buys the same 5 bags or so. Well, there's a reason everybody buys those same 5 bags or so. That's because they're good quality, practical, pretty bags that work for people's lives. I want to end this video with 2 more definitions of basic B that I found on Urban Dictionary. The basic B is anyone who calls someone a basic B. Originally, basic B is meant to mean unoriginal, but the word itself is no longer an original insult, thus making anyone who uses it an unclever follower. Aside from that, it sounds like a phrase a 12-year-old would say. No offense to 12-year-olds. You cannot use this phrase and have a high IQ at the same time. You just can't. And the final definition, this is yet another term used by society to judge women and their lifestyle choices. Because honestly, what would we do with our time if we didn't have socially accepted ways to demean and denigrate women for the choices they make? So go carry your Speedies and Neverfulls with pride, knowing that you are not a basic B. If you like this video, please click the like button and also hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. When you do that, please also click the bell so you're notified when I post a new video, because YouTube does not always tell you that. Have a great day. Thank you for watching.